Happening now on Grid Tonight. When he'd enter races in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, many would often say today is going to be the Kyle Busch show because he won so many races in those series. And on this special program tonight, it will truly be the Kyle Busch show, as it will be all about him as we honor and remember the two-time Cup Series champion and future Hall of Famer. Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert. With me tonight are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, and welcome back Jonathan Fiel from NASCAR Roundtable Sports and the Racing Experts. And throughout our show tonight, we want to hear from you, whether you're watching here on live or on replay. We want to hear how are you doing since we got the really unfortunate, tragic, sad, heartbreaking, all of those adjectives. When we got the news last Thursday, let us know how you've been doing since then. And please feel free to share your favorite Kyle Busch memories, and we'll display it on the screen throughout tonight's show. And we have a lot to discuss tonight surrounding this tragic story. So, Josh, I'll let you take it away with I usually say take it away with our top story this evening, but take it away with our only story this evening.
Yeah, it's only right and it's only fitting that this is our only story. Good evening, chaps, as well. Good evening, everybody. 6 days ago, on the evening of Thursday, May 21st, the motorsport community received the devastating news that nobody saw coming. The two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion and NASCAR's all-time winningest driver, Kyle Busch, passed away at aged 41. Now, earlier that morning, Richard Childress Racing announced that Busch was hospitalized with a severe illness and would not drive his number 8 Chevrolet in the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. As the day went on, worrying details emerged behind the scenes about the seriousness of the situation. Then we learned the driver, nicknamed Rowdy, Wild Thing, and KFB, was gone. 2 days after his death, the Busch family released a statement revealing that Busch was suffering from a severe pneumonia. Then the pneumonia turned into sepsis, which ultimately killed the future Hall of Famer. Photo taken by David Jensen from Getty Images. Now we're going to show you a timeline of events that led up to the tragic loss of Kyle Busch and the aftermath. On May the 10th, Kyle Busch finished 8th at Watkins Glen and requested a doctor for a shot after the race. Mike Joy on Fox Sports shared that Busch was suffering from a sinus infection. On May 12th, Kyle Busch posted on social media that the number 8 team has had the top 10 speed for the last 3 races and encourages fans with "Let's keep it rolling." On May 15th, Kyle Busch claimed the pole for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race with a new track record. Busch led 147 of 200 laps en route to his second win of 2026 in only his 4th start. On May the 16th, during a media session, Jeff Gluck from The Athletic asked Kyle Busch if he felt better after Watkins Glen. Busch said he was still not great, but the cough was sustainable from last week. Kyle Busch qualified later on that day, 23rd for the NASCAR All-Star race. On May the 17th, Kyle Busch finished 17th in the NASCAR All-Stars race at Dover, and Busch ran in the top 10 during stage 1 until a pit stop resulted in a speeding penalty and then involved in a crash. On May 18th, Kyle Busch posted a birthday message on social media for his son, Brexton, who turned 11. And later, another post featuring a photograph of himself with his children and wife, Samantha. On May 19th, Kyle Busch attended the opening of the Andretti Indoor Karting and Games in Durham, North Carolina. His son, Brexton, was in attendance with him as they met fans and raced go-karts. On May 20th, Kyle and Samantha Busch are scheduled to attend an event for the Bundle of Joy Fund at the Fillmore, Charlotte that evening. Busch went to the GM Charlotte Technology Center to conduct sim work But during the simulation work, Busch became unresponsive and the staff called 911 after Busch was laid on the bathroom floor. On May 20th, Kyle Busch was taken by ambulance to hospital for treatment. This information was not made public. However, the Busch family and NASCAR were made aware of the situation. On May the 21st, at 10:23 a.m. Eastern, the Busch family posted a statement on Kyle Busch's X, formerly Twitter account, that Busch was suffering from a severe illness and was undergoing treatment. On May 21st, Kyle Busch was scheduled to be on Sirius XM's Speedway program, and his appearance was cancelled. Now, Chocolate Myers was aware that Busch was seriously ill after he visited the RCR shop. On May 21st, RCR announced that Austin Hill would be in the number 8 car substituting for Kyle Busch. And at 5:40 p.m. Eastern, NASCAR broke the news that Busch, aged 41, had passed away, but no cause of death was shared. On May 22nd, RCR announced that the number 8 would be replaced with the number 33 and reserved until Brexton Busch is ready to race in NASCAR. Also on that day, TMZ released the 911 audio indicating that a medical emergency occurred on Wednesday evening and details of Kyle Busch's condition before going to the hospital. On May 23rd, the number 33 car was the first to unload at Charlotte Motor Speedway, while teams and drivers stood in silence to witness the unloading of both RCR cars, and both cars pushed to the garage. Also later on that day, the cause of death was released by the Busch family. A severe case of pneumonia led to sepsis, which led to medical complications that took the life of Kyle Busch. On May 24th, tributes across the racing community, including from the FIA, Formula One and IndyCar as well, and the Indy 500, held a silent lap 18. Later on that day, NASCAR's CEO Steve O'Donnell led a tribute at Charlotte Motor Speedway for Kyle Busch. The parents of Busch, brother Kurt Busch, Samantha Busch, and Lennox are present in their first public appearance. Brexton also being comforted by the son as well of fellow drivers. NASCAR observes a silent lap 8 at the Coca-Cola 600. Choking up reading some of that, guys. It like it is getting to all of you, getting to me, and I said on one of the commentaries as well, it's a death in a race car you can accept, but a death so random often feels the hardest, and this definitely is so random, and it's taking a lot of time to get used to the idea that Kyle isn't racing week to week. I was looking for his name during the race at Charlotte on the commentary monitors, and it wasn't there. It was getting to a lot of people. Jason's here saying, I still ask myself, why Kyle? Absolutely, and I agree with his words here. Tragic. Matt, starting with you. Both of you, what was going through your mind throughout the day last Thursday as we heard about the hospitalization, the rumblings that he wasn't doing well, and then reading the devastating news headline that Kyle Busch dies at age 41? I think everyone knows where they were when they got that message.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Hello, everyone. What a week it's been. As me and Kobe were saying before we got on here, and we're a bit behind in time because we wanted to make sure all of our bits and pieces were right tonight. So thank you, everybody, for bearing with us, because this is an important show. Last Wednesday, we were doing this show. Ben was with us. We were bantering and discussing back and forth about the Hall of Fame entry this time last week. Little did we know, Kyle Busch was already at the hospital. I had no idea until Thursday morning, our time, Josh, over here in the UK, when I saw the message that he was going to be out for the weekend, and that Austin Hill would be replacing him, and they said it was, an illness. And I thought, well, the first thought was, well, they did talk about he wasn't well at the Glen 2 weeks ago. Maybe something's happened with that, a flare up, whatever. Hard to know from not knowing and just seeing that sort of mini statement put out there. He was out for the weekend and Austin Hill would be in. And then going to bed this sort of time last Thursday, suddenly the couple of group chats started going absolutely potty. My watch was buzzing frantically at me, all the messages coming in, and it was, oh, okay. Wow. Did not expect to be reading those kinds of messages at 11:15 on a Thursday night, mid-season. Not, as you say, just not being involved in an accident on track, which again, something we've had to deal with in NASCAR and in other forms of motorsport over the last few years, when we don't wish that to ever happen again to anybody, and we don't wish this to happen to anybody. It was just one of those, where you were, wow moments. And just, yeah, we'll get to it throughout the show tonight, but just so upsetting and so sad. And I hope everybody has found some comfort in what happened at the weekend through the fact that racing went on, the tributes poured in, and we're going to get to some of them in a moment. But yeah, just terribly sad.
Yeah, no other words beside that. Truly, I just I was looking back at our group chat, and at the start of the day when we got the news about Kyle Busch being hospitalized, it was kind of like, okay, this is tough, but surely he's going to bounce back, and, we're going to get Austin Hill or Jesse Love in the car for a few weeks. They kind of get to show out their talent a little bit, good opportunity for them. Kyle will be back, it might cost him the chase this year, but, certainly nothing, crazy is, when our colleague Matthew Bro, I was looking back on it, put it in the chat, the statement from NASCAR, the joint statement from NASCAR and the Busch family and RCR. And it was like, whoa, it's one of those kind of, well, like you mentioned, like one of those, you remember exactly where you were, and one of those just like earth-shaking moments. I mean, I personally remember I was in Target getting something for maybe about 10 minutes and kind of just left my phone in my pocket because it was down on battery, and I was about to go work on stuff, and I got out and I heard the news, and I was going to make another errand and just went straight home, just because it's a shock, especially just to see his face with his name, and then with the 1985 to 2026, the letters is just it still doesn't feel real even today.
No, it doesn't. And it's been nearly a week now, and it's still always in the back of your mind, and you prep for the weekend as you would. And, you've just come off the Coke 600, Daniel Suarez, what a race as well. And brilliant strategy calls with Time in the Rain. And you think, okay, that's a great story. I wonder what's going to happen next week. And you just think, oh yeah, that's, he's not going to be there. It's not, as you say, the hope of, it'll just cost him the chase. It's the fact is that he won't be here at all, and it's still going to get a lot of time to get used to that, if ever. Kid Latin, hello again, my friend. I know you've been on some of the JBM broadcasts as well. Jason, I think we're all still asking that question, why did it happen to Kyle Busch? I agree with you, and it all started just around Watkins Glen, didn't it? And that message that came through. I remember, I think Matt had talked to you at the time as well, saying, a bit weird, that wasn't it? It was a bit strange to get that message to go to for the doctor to come to the truck, and yeah, and little did we know it was the beginning of things. And as we move on with the script, because there's so much to talk about, because he was a very popular man, love him or hate him as well. Rowdy was an incredible driver, and with the news of Kyle Busch's shocking death just spreading globally, the tributes have poured in from across the global motorsports industry. It's no secret that, as I've said, Busch ruffled many feathers throughout his NASCAR career. At the end of the day, even those who had fierce rivalries with him for years had to pay their respects as well. From his old teams to friends and foes, even internally, many people and companies had plenty to say about Busch and what he meant to them. We're now going to show you a long list of statements and tributes, and we'll start with this joint statement on your screen now from NASCAR and Richard Childress Racing and the Busch family. Our entire NASCAR family is heartbroken by the loss of Kyle Busch. A future Hall of Famer, Kyle was a rare talent, one who comes along once in a generation. He was fierce, he was passionate, he was immensely skilled, and he cared deeply about the sport and fans. Throughout a career that spanned more than 2 decades, Kyle set records in National Series wins, won championship at NASCAR's highest levels, and fostered the next generation of drivers as an owner in the Truck Series. His sharp wit and competitive spirit sparked a deep emotional connection with race fans of every age, creating the proud and loyal Rowdy Nation. Our thoughts are with Samantha, Braxton, and Lennox, Kyle and Samantha's parents, Kurt and all of Kyle's family, Richard and Judy Childress, everybody at the Richard Childress Racing, his teammates, friends, and fans. NASCAR's lost a giant of the sport today, far too soon. During this incredibly difficult time, we ask everyone to respect the family's privacy and continue to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Further updates will be shared as appropriate. Now moving on to Joe Gibbs Racing. Our hearts are broken for Samantha, Buxton, and Lennox, and the entire Busch family. Kyle was a fierce competitor and an incredible teammate, and far more importantly, a devoted husband, father, and son. His impact on our organisation and on the sport of NASCAR will never be forgotten. During this unimaginable time, everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing and the Gibbs family are lifting the Busch family up in prayers. From Hendrick Motorsports, this is an incredibly painful shock for all of us and a heartbreaking loss for the NASCAR family. Kyle was one of the most talented drivers I've ever seen and a racer in the truest sense of the word. He had a fire and competitive spirit that drove him to be great. I watched Kyle grow up in this sport and valued the friendship we shared long after he drove for our organisation. As much as he loved to drive a race car, nothing brought him more joy than being a husband, a father, and watching his son race. On behalf of everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, our hearts are with Samantha, Braxton, Lennox, Kurt, and the Busch family. And that's from Rick Hendrick, who is the owner of Hendrick Motorsports. Chevrolet also releasing a statement. The shocking news of Kyle's passing is devastating to me and to everyone at Chevrolet and General Motors. Our hearts go out to Samantha, their children Braxton and Lennox, and the Busch family. Everyone at RCR, Kyle's legions of fans, and all of Rowdy Nation. He was a fierce competitor who found success both as a driver and a team owner, as well as a generous benefactor to countless families with the Bundle of Joy Fund he founded with Samantha. On top of all of that, he found Town to be true friend to us all.
Lucas Oil, who have been one of Kyle Busch's major sponsors in his time of RCR, put their statement out and said the Lucas Oil family is devastated by the loss of Kyle Busch. As a devoted ambassador for Lucas Oil, Kyle represented our team with passion, integrity, and tireless dedication. He lifted up the sport, the fans, and everyone who worked beside him. Our deepest condolences are with Samantha, Braxton, Lennox, the entire Busch family, and everyone at RCR during this difficult time.
A statement from Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the passing of Kyle Busch. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of Las Vegas native Kyle Busch. As his hometown track, we are honoured to have been part of his remarkable journey and racing legacy. Patrick Lindsay, who is SVP and GM, the loss of a sudden, prominent Las Vegas figure is devastating and felt deeply throughout our community. His talent and passion helped elevate the sport and inspired generations of racers and fans alike. With his impact on motorsports, our sport will not be the same without him. Our thoughts, prayers, and condolences are with Samantha, the Busch family, friends, team members, and all those impacted by his tremendous loss. And now we move on to... sorry, Matt, were you going to say it?
No, carry on, Josh. My screen keeps freezing, so you carry on. Sorry.
No worries at all, my friend. This is now coming up from Indianapolis Motor Speedway and also, in turn, IndyCar's statements. First of all, everyone at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is heartbroken to learn of the passing of Kyle Busch. Kyle was one of the most dominant racers in IMS history, highlighted by back-to-back NASCAR Cup Series Brickyard 400 victories in 2015 and 2016, making history by sweeping both the Cup and NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races in those years. He won a record 4 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races at the racing capital in the world and made his 700th career Cup start in the 30th anniversary in the 2024 Brickyard 400 at IMS. A significant career milestone. He was a fan favourite, loved for his competitive spirit and passion. He understood what racing and winning at Indianapolis means. Our thoughts and deepest sympathies are with his wife, Samantha, children, Brexton and Lennox, the entire Busch family, Richard Childress Racing, and the entire NASCAR family. That's from Doug Bowles, the president of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. IndyCar putting out a tweet as well, saying the entire IndyCar community is saddened and heartbroken by the passing of Kyle Busch. We extend our deepest condolences to his family, friends, Richard Childress Racing, and the entire NASCAR community during this difficult time. And Formula One reading a statement now as well. A true competitor and champion. Our condolences to Kyle's friends, family, and the entire NASCAR community. Jonathan?
And of course, the loss of Kyle Busch had a global impact with the FIA releasing this statement. The FIA extends its deepest condolences following the passing of Kyle Busch, a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion and one of the sport's defining generational talents. Kyle inspired many through his passion, determination, extraordinary achievements on track. Our thoughts are with his family, loved ones, and the entire NASCAR community at this difficult time. And Brad Keselowski, of course, one of the biggest competitors of Kyle Busch, and vice versa. You will see it in the statement here. I made him earn every victory and stole a few from him along the way. We took our shots at each other in the media and on the track. But I like to think that somewhere deep down, there was an appreciation that we pushed each other to perform at the highest level, even if neither of us would have admitted it. Tonight, I feel like the coyote with no more roadrunner to chase is lost to all our loss, but none more than his family. Thinking of Samantha and Brexton and Lennox, who lost their father today. And another one from, of course, one of Busch's biggest competitors, his longtime teammate, the longest run for teammates in the NASCAR Cup Series. We lost our Kobe Bryant. Today we mourn, forever we remember. Rest in peace, Kyle. Of course, coming from Denny Hamlin. And Jesse Love, of course, who teammate to Kyle Busch, a few instances in the NASCAR Cup Series, Richard Childress Racing and NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series champion, defending champion. My first hero, the first driver I ever wanted to be like. You were bigger than life. Since I was a kid, I dreamed that one day I could be like you too. I'm just one of the many kids you gave that dream to, and I never stopped looking up to you. My heart was with Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox, the Busch family and friends, your fans, and everyone at RCR. There's no doubting that you gave me everything you had. You left nothing on the table. You inspired me, gave me dreams, and helped me in ways I wish I got the chance to tell you. You'll always be my first hero. I'm going to miss you. And to add about Jesse Love, he finished second, of course, in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Charlotte this past Saturday night. Was frustrated, sad, but also excited, a lot of different emotions. He really wanted to win for RCR, really wanted to win for the Busch family. Kid with a big heart, that's for sure.
Jimmy Johnson has also put out a statement saying that Kyle Busch wasn't just one of the fiercest competitors our sport has ever seen. He was one of the most talented race car drivers I've ever shared a track with. We spent years as teammates at Hendrick Motorsports, and even as competitors, there was always a deep respect for what he could do behind the wheel. Kyle pushed all of us to be better. His passion, intensity, and love for racing were unmatched, and his impact on this sport will be felt forever. I'll always remember the many laughs and conversations away from the spotlight, and most importantly, the way he cared so deeply about his family. My heart goes out to Samantha, Brexton, Lennox, Kurt, his parents, and many teammates across the industry, fans, and everyone who loved Kyle. NASCAR lost one of its greatest talents today, and we've all lost a friend. Kyle Larson saying, completely heartbroken to hear the news of Kyle's passing. I have so many memories of great battles with him throughout my career that I'll cherish forever. It's hard to even put into words what he meant to me and my career. Whether he knew it or not, he was the bar we all measured ourselves against. Just a pure racer to the core, as real as they come. I hate this so much for their family, Samantha, Lennox, and especially Brexton. The bond Kyle and Brexton shared and everything he poured into his racing and his family was incredible. RIP KFB. Victor of the Coca-Cola 600, Daniel Suarez, put in a statement, Kyle Busch, I used to call Kyle once a week in 2015 for his help and guidance as I started going to racetracks for the first time. He gave me a hand when I was brand new to this. I'm in complete shock. I am thinking of his friends during this incredibly difficult time. Much love, amigo. And the rest of Kevin Harvick's statement also that I missed out there. Kyle Busch and I spent years pushing each other to the limit. We raced hard, traded paint, and fought for every inch because all either of us wanted to do was beat the other. What people may not realize is how much that rivalry drove us both. Kyle made me better because you had to be at your absolute best to beat him. Over time, that fierce competition turned into a mutual respect. As our careers evolved, so did our conversations. We talked over building race teams, life beyond the racetrack, and our families, especially raising young sons who wanted to be racers themselves. I'm deeply saddened for Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox. There's nothing that can replace a husband or a father. I'm also saddened for our sport. NASCAR lost one of its true giants, whose impact is almost beyond measure.
Tributes continue with Eric Jones, who said Kyle was not just a mentor, but also a friend. His impact on my career was significant, and I'm forever grateful to him for giving me a chance in the Truck Series over 13 years ago. He helped me on a path in NASCAR from our first time racing each other at that 2012 Snowball Derby. He was one of the best in the sport who pushed us all to be better drivers. Kyle had an impact on so many careers in this sport. I'm heartbroken at the loss of this champion. My thoughts and prayers are with the Busch family. Please keep them in your prayers during this difficult time. He will be missed. William Byron said, I'm so sad and stunned to hear the news about KB. He meant so much to a lot of people, not just myself. Kyle was the best mentor you could ever have. He was incredibly unselfish, cared about his people and his family deeply, and helped shape my career to what it is today. I'm heartbroken, thinking and praying for the Busch family during this time. Ryan Blaney wrote, there never has been and never will be another racer like Kyle Busch, the most talented, relentless and smartest person to have sat behind the wheel. I was in awe growing up seeing the absolute dominance of someone every week. I was lucky to have raced Kyle in late models, trucks, nationwide, cup, and no one would make you feel like you had so little talent because he could do things that just seemed impossible to do, but was completely normal to him. Getting to know Kyle over the years, I got the chance to experience how incredibly funny and charismatic his personality was. I truly believe Kyle is the greatest driver that our sport has ever seen, and we were lucky to witness it. Whether you're a fan or a competitor, my heart is broken for Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox. Rowdy will forever be a part of our lives. Jacobs Racing driver Chase Briscoe said, it doesn't even feel real typing this. Easily one of the absolute greatest of all time. Any track, any car, it didn't matter. He was going to be good. Getting to race against Kyle was a true pinch me moment. I'll never forget the first time just sharing the track with someone I had so much respect for. Two of my favourite wins of my entire career came along. Going head to head against KB, and what made them so special was the fact that I was racing against KB, someone who I considered one of the all-time best. Getting to know Kyle through my NASCAR career has been a highlight for me, whether I was racing door to door with him or talking to him about Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox and what they had all had going on. I always had to tell myself how cool it was I was getting to be around one of my heroes. I'm going to miss everything about KFB, and I can assure you no race I run from now on will ever feel the same, because the impact Kyle Busch left is unlike one any other driver could ever have. Thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Busch family and all of Rowdy Nation. Godspeed, KB.
And a statement from Tony Stewart, of course, former teammate of Kyle Busch and three-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. Kyle Busch was a fierce competitor. He was strong-willed, confident not only to his ability behind the wheel, but in his opinions. He held his own and didn't mince words. Early on, we didn't always see eye to eye, but in 2008, he became my teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing, and he was a great teammate. He pushed me to be better, and we always had respect for one another. It was easy to see that Kyle was going to be a future champion. What a loss for the NASCAR community and the motorsports community as a whole. Kyle was one of a kind. Whether it was to see him win or to see him beat someone, or see someone beat him, you watched. Even the haters will miss Kyle. They'll learn in the coming weeks who he was as a person, a husband, and a father. My heart goes out to his wife, Samantha, his kids, Brexton and Lennox, his parents, Tom and Gay, and to his brother, Kurt. Statement from Ricky Stenhouse Jr., two-time NASCAR Rally Auto Parts Series champion and longtime competitor in the Cup Series with Kyle Busch. There aren't really any words for today. I've raced against Kyle for a long time, and anyone who's lined up next to him knows exactly what made him special. He gave you everything he had, every single lap, and he made all of us better for it. But more than the wins and the records, I keep thinking about Samantha, Brexton, and Lennox, and the entire Busch family right now. That's where my heart is. Rest easy, Rowdy. The sport won't be the same without you. Carson Osavar, of course, the Hurricane, who just earned his first win in the NASCAR Cup Series and was a teammate to Kyle Busch at Texas Motor Speedway when he won the truck race. Every day is a privilege, and today is a truly sad reminder of that. This little boy, in the picture that he posted with here in the tweet that was posted, hated you on Sundays, but he loved to hate you, and you made it very difficult to hate and not become a fan when your passion for racing showed. When you would show up to his hometown to race at his racetracks, he'll be forever grateful for that. From a fan to a hater to a competitor to a teammate and to even maybe a friend, I share that story because this little kid in the picture, it's a picture of Carson with Kyle Busch when he was younger. Carson was younger, a little kid, was not anywhere near the true number that you impacted for the better just through racing. You'll be deeply missed, both on the track, but certainly off. Rest in peace. And Marcus Smith, the CEO of Speedway Motorsports, owner of Charlotte Motor Speedway, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and other tracks, released this statement. Kyle Busch was a champion among champions, a once-in-a-generation competitor whose grit, unmistakable driving style, and relentless pursuit of excellence elevated him to a place among the very best drivers in our sport. When Kyle climbed behind the wheel, he brought an intensity and determination that demanded respect from his competitors and inspired fans throughout motorsports. At Charlotte Motor Speedway, Kyle etched his name in history, earning more victories across NASCAR's top 3 series than any other driver in our sport, highlighted by his victory in the 2018 Coca-Cola 600, which 377 laps led, remarkable win. Many of his remarkable 234 NASCAR victories came at Speedway Motorsports tracks, where his talent and competitive spirit created countless memorable memories and moments for more than 2 decades. Beyond his extraordinary accomplishments in NASCAR, Kyle's passion for racing extended deeply into dirt racing and U.S. legend car competition, where he proudly shared the track with his son, Brexton. Away from the racetrack, Kyle was a savvy businessman, a devoted father, and a loyal friend whose impact was felt far beyond the sport. Our hearts are with Samantha, Brexton, Lennox, and the entire Busch family during this incredibly difficult time. We extend our deepest condolences, prayers, and unwavering support as they mourn the loss of someone who meant so much to so many.
Bubba Wallace posting, "My eyes hurt from all the crying. My heart hurts from the pain. Just Sunday, mid-race, I thought about Kyle Busch and one of the many lessons that he taught me. Is it loose? Drive through it and trust it." Kyle was a monumental factor in who Bubba Wallace is today. I sit here and look at all things around me and all the things I've been able to accomplish. Kyle played a role in every aspect. That's what hurts the most. An icon and a legend that I looked up to is no longer with us. Myself, along with many other drivers, crew chiefs, mechanics, etc., learned so much from Kyle. His legacy will continue to transcend in this sport for years to come. Honoured to have shared the same racetrack with one of the best to ever do it. Thank you for all you've done for me. I will miss my drafting buddy on the plate races. Rest easy, my brother. Love to you and your family. Well, he might have been rowdy on the racetrack, but it's clear that Kyle Busch was beloved in the NASCAR community and the greater motorsports community all over the world. The industry has shared its thoughts on Busch, and now it's time to share ours. I know there's a dry eye in the house after that, guys. Very nicely done. With all the tributes read out there, that was not easy for anybody, and we all got choked up. So, Jonathan, to start with you first, what will you miss the most about Kyle Busch, both as a driver and, of course, as a person?
Where do you start? That's for sure. I mean, you just think of Kyle Busch as the racer, often he was regarded for his aggressive style and his aggressive nature, but a lot of drivers commented on how he was one of the cleanest drivers that you would ever race, especially later in his career. He was tough, but he was fair. It was almost like having a parental figure out on the track in some ways, especially toward the end of his career, where, if you did him dirty, he would let you know, and he would, discipline fairly. I mean, we saw it in some instances, whether fairly or not, where he would keep score. I mean, we saw it with Riley Herbst at Bristol. Earlier this season, we saw it with John Hunter Nemechek after they made contact. Other instances where Kyle was pretty fair, and I think he was one of those drivers, akin to maybe like an Earnhardt or a Stewart or others, who had come before him, where if Kyle came up to you and he was talking to you, there was a purpose for why he was talking to you, whether to give advice, whether to comment on something. There was some reason why Kyle was talking to you. And I think that's really going to be missed. Just that veteran and senior presence in the sport that, again, only so few veterans and people have ever done before. And he just had that presence. He had that width about him that I think is even going to be missed beyond what we would have ever imagined him as being a driver. You know, of course, you think about if Jeff Gluck had a great post, a great article talking about if he would have gone into TV, or, you know, he had the ear of Steve O'Donnell and Ben Kennedy, you know, the NASCAR's higher brass, you know, in a way that a lot of our drivers don't. And just in the case, like in the case of Dale Earnhardt, when you lose something like that, you lose a lot. So he's going to be missed for his on-track presence, but especially his off-track presence.
Yeah, sorry guys, our hosting software is not liking me tonight, so if I disappear again, then you know why. Yeah, again, like Jonathan said, so many. In an era of fairly bland paint schemes, 2010 through 2015, 16, you always knew where the M&M car was, or Snickers, or whatever chocolate bar related, candy bar related livery it was running every week in the Cup Series. You'd always see it in the packs, and mostly it was at the front or near the front. Some other memories from my side. Everyone remembers the slide job race because Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on commentary. Well, it was Kyle Busch versus Kyle Larson at Chicagoland. When this is going to sound very UK based, but bear with me. When Sky Sports decided to give up showing the Cup Series 2011, 12, whenever that was, it went to a channel which I did not have and had to make do with the international highlights feed on a Monday, which was 50 odd minutes. Never really got the story of the races, but what we did have at that time was the Nationwide Series races on Motors TV in that era of the championship battle between Justin Allgaier, Elliott Sadler, all those kind of guys, and then the owners' battle between Penske and Gibbs, which was generally Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano with a dribbling of Ryan Blaney and normally a discount tire 22 versus Kyle Busch generally in a Monster Energy 54 then Nationwide car, and he just beat up on everybody. I remember watching a race at Phoenix in the Nationwide Series in that he led 198 of 200 laps or something ridiculous. Just blew everybody's doors off. And so many races like that. Coming back from the leg break to win his first championship, many people were, you know, oh, he shouldn't be eligible for the playoffs or chase, whatever we were calling it at that point. But he stuck it out, won that first race, the first race back, the win at Sonoma on the road course. Like, his legs better if he can use them both to turn right and left. You know, it's not just about going around in circles at Sonoma. Came back to win there and obviously went on to win the championship. The second one was a bit more straightforward. And just this little recent period of, you know, a couple of wins when he went to RCR first up a couple of years ago. But it was a long streak without winning, and fairly every week there was momentum of, and especially the last couple of weeks when things were turning around, we'd love to see him win again. We never will. And just the echoes of what he said on the racetrack on Friday afternoon when he got out of that truck at Dover about celebrating it like he, you know, it might be the last one, or words to whatever effect it was that he said. I can't remember off the top of my head now. And yeah, he said the same thing in the press conference afterwards. And you think that was Friday, and here we are on Thursday when the news broke, and within a week he'd won a race at Dover in the Truck Series, and he was no longer with us. It's just it's so sad. But what a talent, and what a great watch he was when he was on, and he had a good car, and he won. He was the battles. That tremendous finish at Watkins Glen with Brad Keselowski and Marcus Ambrose. Kyle Busch is in the middle of all of that, tearing it up with those two guys. Just some of that stuff that you just have to stand back and go, I can't do that. I can do lots of things, but I will never be ever be as good as that. But yeah, the Atlanta free-wide finish. Yeah, exactly.
Sticks in my mind. That was race 2 of me being lead commentator after all the stuff we had at Daytona. And then bang, there's Atlanta. And you got to go, wow, this is actually absolutely incredible as well. Because I'd covered a couple of the series with USRN as it was. And then decided, okay, let's do the whole thing, and just raced to Atlanta. There's Kyle Busch right there, and I think this thing, you always met the Busch brothers as well, and Kurt not getting a proper retirement, now tragically Kyle, and it's just not fair. None of this is fair. As Adam says, it was a somber day in Charlotte when I was there this past Saturday. Didn't feel right. I have seen Adam's amazing stuff that he's sent in, by the way. We've got that ready, Adam, for JBM shows on Saturday, I think, for the O'Reilly Series race. Kid Latin saying, seeing Daniel Suarez win the Coke 600 for Kyle Busch was just wonderful. It felt like Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning the Pepsi 400 at Daytona in 2001. We're all going to miss him, and we'll continue to remember him. I thought it was nice. I think Matthew Owen said how ironic it was as well, actually, coming into it. And rest in peace to a fellow Lake Norman neighbour. Like it says Jamie as well, coming into it. We keep losing neighbours here on Norman as well. Nobody knows how to move forward with this. It's a really, really weird one. As Adam says, seeing the tributes on the Jumbotron and the number 8 in the grass at Charlotte was amazing. A stat I love about that was Kurt laid 8 roses along the bottom of the 8 on pit road, and they were not touched once. Even the jet dryers didn't touch them. That was incredible. Adam says, Kyle was 4 years younger than me. Still crazy to this day. By the way, I was at work when I heard the news, cried inside. I think we all did. I was literally about to go to bed because I said, I'll have an early night because we're up early to do all the racing this weekend. And there it was. And I kid you not, it was 2:00 in the morning the next time I looked at the clock and thought, and I still didn't feel like sleeping. I always sensed Carl Edwards would not mess with Kyle Busch as well coming into it. Kyle versus Jerry battles were legendary. They were. And I think it's just hard to get your mind around it all. Kyle was badass on the track as well. And winning at Dover in the trucks, that sentence he said about you never know how many more and you never know when it's the last time, hit homes now, doesn't it? I thought SVG was scared of Kyle when he first arrived in Cup. Go on, Matt.
Just thinking while you're reading those messages off, Josh, that it's going to feel strange these next month, whatever. And generally, much like at the weekend, the wheels will turn, the races will happen, etc., etc. When we get back to Las Vegas later in the year, that's going to be an emotional one. Back on home soil.
I'll throw in Daytona as well, because we were literally all saying it this year, weren't we, on the commentary? Everybody was saying it. 20 years of trying. Where have we heard that before? Yeah, and one of the greatest to not win it. It's ridiculous. Our own Joe Samiega says, Kyle captured the attention of people who didn't regularly follow NASCAR. I would mention I like NASCAR. Somebody would ask, what do you think of Kyle Busch? And I think that's exactly, isn't it, as well? It's the one thing that I think Kyle was the cocky one, the rowdy one. As you say, he was always the one who you could easily spot because he was in the bright M&M coloured car. And I must admit, when I was in the commentary box on Sunday, I had a bag of M&Ms because how could you not? You have milk as your drink of beverage for Indianapolis 500. You have M&Ms as your snack of choice for NASCAR. It's just a logical thing. I completely agree with you both about it all. The kids love Kyle Busch. Everybody loved Kyle Busch. Even if you hated him, everybody loved him. It's like everybody's a Ferrari fan in Formula One as well. And hate's a strong word. It's like, oh, I hate you. He's done it again. And he puts a smile on your face because you have to respect that. Of course it is. You said it earlier. It's the Kyle Busch show. And it's fantastic. And that song as well, the Kyle Busch show song is incredible, that Rowdy Nation made. Moving on to our next part of the story. This is something that we all found a little bit interesting, actually, because in the aftermath of this tragedy, we've learned about 2 potential opportunities for Kyle Busch from Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jay Fry that never materialized. Starting first with Dale Jr., we understand that the two didn't always have the best relationship, especially after Busch wrecked Jr. while battling for the win at Richmond Raceway in 2008. Now, that was the moment where Rowdy Nation clashed with Junior Nation. Busch officially became the villain of the sport, going up against NASCAR's hero and most popular driver. Now, despite the bad blood between the two for years, things eventually thawed out and both got to a point where they were on positive terms. And after Busch's death, Junior revealed plans for Busch to drive a late model for Junior Motorsports this summer at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Now, how cool would it have been, Matt, coming to you on this one as a statement first? I think I'll read this first, actually, if you don't mind. This is from Junior, who says, Kyle and I had a really challenging existence for many years, but we luckily took the time to figure out our differences. And that was something he instigated with a conversation in his bus around how we each managed our racing teams. I was super eager for us to get on better terms, but it was he who made the effort for that to be possible. We did some media together, also to laugh through some of the things we put each other through many years ago. Most recently, we had even been discussing him running my late model at Wilkesboro this summer. He seemed extremely happy, and we had planned to meet up next Thursday to get his seat to the shop. He laughed over the idea of his fans and JRM fans having to cheer in unison during that race. Kyle was one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history. No one can deny that, but he was also a father, husband, brother, son, and a friend to many. My heart is broken for the Busch family. I will never be able to make sense of this loss, but I am thankful that we found a way to become friends. I think that hits hard as well, especially with how Junior's crash at Richmond all kicked off everything. And even it just shows you that you never truly know what happens behind the scenes of these things. So, Matt, starting with you, how cool would it have been to see Kyle Busch in a Junior Motorsport Chevrolet after all these years, given his past rivalry with Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
I guess it would never have worked until sort of now, after being in with Toyota for so long, and you forget how big that moment at Richmond was in the moment. I mean, that was like 38 races a year, and it was so long ago, you kind of forget it a little bit until someone brings it up or it pops up on social media and you go, oh my goodness, yes, remember this. When we all wake up tomorrow morning, we can think, Kyle's going to see Junior today, because that's tomorrow. He's going to get his seat fit for his late model. Let's think about that, everyone, in the morning. Kyle Busch is going to see Junior Motorsports today to get his seat fit. Because that would have been cool. Like, again, the numbers in the NASCAR world speak for themselves, and they've been well documented over the last week. But there wasn't just that. So many wins in so many other things. And you just know he would have gone into that race. He would have taken a little while practice and whatnot to acclimatise. And then by the time the race came, he would have blown everyone's doors off. Because that's what Kyle Busch does. I'm going to continue to say does rather than did, because that just sounds right to me. And that's what Kyle Busch does. So, it just, we're going to talk about something else in a minute as well. But there was that talk, 12 months ago or so, about him going to do supercars race at Adelaide as well, that never came to fruition. So a racer through and through.
Mike? Sorry, Jonathan, we can't hear you. Your mic's on mute. There you go. Hello, go on.
Yeah, I think it would have been really cool if we could have gotten to have seen Kyle Busch drive the Dale Jr. number 8, especially in a late model race, where I think he would have had a great chance at winning the race, like Matt was talking about. And Kyle Busch was always the type who would go down to these late model races and find talent. Like we talked about it with Eric Jones' statement of how Kyle Busch discovered him at the Snowball Derby. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't see Eric Jones in the NASCAR Cup Series today, Eric Jones has been a phenomenal talent, of course, for Legacy Motor Club and for the NASCAR Cup Series, and so many other drivers who were discovered through Kyle, and maybe a race could have discovered another talent. Obviously Kyle Busch does not have Kyle Busch Motorsports anymore, but obviously with the ties to Spire Motorsports and Richard Childress Racing, maybe we could have seen another instance of that. And just think of the merchandise too, as well. Having a Kyle Busch number 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr. style die cast. I mean, that would have been really cool. It would have been a reverse of Texas 07. You remember when Dale Earnhardt Jr. got in Kyle Busch's car after Kyle Busch left the track after a crash. What could have been? What could have been?
I'm going to go off script for just a moment because whilst we've been on air here tonight, a statement from Jordan Bianchi and Alex Andrejev in The Athletic has been posted. An article which I've sent to Kobe, and I'm sure he'll manage to link it in the description of the YouTube chat. It's a statement, and it's a news article as well that reads, Kyle Busch had pneumonia for days to weeks before he died, death certificate says. This is, I've just been reading it whilst we've been on air in the last few moments. I got the notification. Busch's pneumonia progressed into sepsis, which lasted for 1 day. That says per the certificate, which listed the pneumonia and sepsis among a chain of events that caused Busch's death. The sepsis led to a desysmatated intravascular coagulation, which is DIC. I've probably pronounced that completely wrong, but that's completely on the first thing. And that's which causes an abnormal clotting throughout blood vessels in the body. That ultimately led to a hemorrhagic shock, which is what we presume we heard on that phone call. And it lasted hours, the certificate says. And that is the death certificate. As also noted, cremation will take place in Mooresville, North Carolina. It died of natural causes at 4:37 p.m. on May the 21st. That's the message we've got. That's come through the official death certificate whilst we've been on air. The Athletic have written a story upon. That's the breaking news whilst we've been on air here this evening about the death certificate news. Jamie says the thawing between them came when Junior showed his concern for Brother Kurt after his accident. I do agree with that one. So I won't ask the boys a question on what we just learned because that was the breaking news. And I know I need some time to think about how to feel about that. So it'll be unfair to ask them. So instead, I'll head back to our scripted comments and we'll have more news about that at a later time as well. Now, about 3 hours after we learned about Kyle Busch's passing, Rahal Lenneman Lanigan Racing President Jay Fry shared this graphic on social media. Fry revealed that Busch was going to drive this number 51 M&M's sponsored IndyCar in the Indianapolis 500, but the plans never materialized. Although they held the number 51 for years, hoping a deal among all parties could be reached. He said this was around 2017 and 2018 when Busch was still in his prime as a driver. The two-time Cup Series champion had a dream of attempting the double, competing in the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. Fry said if anyone could have won both races on Memorial Day weekend, Busch would have been the one to do it and complete the double. Graphic courtesy there of Fry. It's a stunning livery car as well. So, Jonathan, starting with you, do you agree with Fry that Kyle Busch in his prime probably would have been in contention to win both races in the double? And
for sure.
Yeah, it's just such a shame we never got to see him compete in the Indy 500.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially 2017, 2018. Yeah. I mean, Kyle Busch's prime, he would have definitely been in contention for the Indianapolis 500. I mean, you look at even how Kyle Larson, that 1 year where he was fully locked into Indianapolis and able to be locked in. I mean, he was great in his run there. And I mean, Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, I think, maybe I think he would have done well in that car. I don't know if it would have been an instance where maybe Kyle Busch, would have gone out, led laps, won the race outright, but definitely contended for the win in some fashion. And yeah, it's a shame. And of course, we know how he performed in the 2018 Coca-Cola 600. We know how he performed in 2017 Coca-Cola 600. Of course, gave us one of his most memorable moments in the media center where someone asked him, "Hey, are you excited for Austin Dillon win his first race?" And, he said, I something along the lines of, I have nothing else to say, congratulations, and threw down the mic because he was frustrated that he lost to a car that was not up front all night and won on fuel mileage while he was up front all night. Another rowdy instance. And I can't imagine what that would have looked like after running 500 miles and then possibly getting beat in that way. So yeah, we missed out on a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Stewart was asked on Fox on Sunday in the pre-race about, they were talking about Catherine Legg, obviously, and we perhaps touch on her later on in the show from the weekend doing the double. And Tony said, he would have loved to have seen Kyle have a run. Obviously, Kurt did it to some fanfare, not as much as Kyle Larson got, I suppose, over the last couple of years. But yeah, Kyle of sort of this core generation over the last 5, 6, 7 years would have been the man to go and do that. And as you say, RLL have not had a great run at the Speedway over the last handful of years. But once Kyle Busch was in the car and he tightened his seatbelts and put himself in the seat, you probably try and do something spectacular. So, as you say, the livery was stunning. You had a few of the normal sort of IndyCar decals in and around that M&M livery that they would have run. It would have looked great. And again, to my point before, you would have known where the yellow car was in the running order. So another real shame that these things don't come to pass. And by the sound of things, it was very, very close to getting over the line in 2017. So just one of those not to be kind of things.
It's strange, actually, because I swear I remember last year during the Indy 500, on one of the many days of practice commentary we had, it got mentioned that Kyle Busch wanted to do it, was going to do it, and I think at the time he said he was going to try and link up with Andretti, but then Fernando Alonso took the seat, and he held a grudge, and that's why he couldn't do it. So I'll look into that. But it's ringing a massive bell in my head there about that. Because I was mentioning it, I said, oh, well, look how well that turned out for Fernando Alonso in 2018. If I remember correctly, he didn't even qualify for that one. Because that was the he put it in the wall and then he got the backup car and it didn't work and he was bumped. Say again?
Kyle Kaiser, the hero of the day.
Kyle Kaiser, yeah. I was literally just thinking about what the team name was. I bumped him out there, yeah. But I swear this was mentioned at the, last year during the 500 coverage, because I remember also Jeff Gordon mentioning about it because they were interviewing him on the pit stand because Kyle Larson was doing the double for Hendrick. And he said about, Kyle wanted to do it a few years ago and couldn't do it. I'll look into that. Something for you all to go and have Matt, wasn't Kyle Busch supposed to race at Adelaide in the Supercars? Yes, he was. He was supposed to go there later on this year, wasn't he?
When this all started, it was going to be Kyle Busch. Then the Kyle changed and it turned into Kyle Larson. And then that fell through and it ended up being Austin Cindric, who went down there last November and ran in that controversial Adelaide Grand Finale.
Yeah, Grand Finales are not really being... I think the only one that went successfully was Formula One last year in Abu Dhabi. That was probably the least controversial of all the season finales. Now, one of the most powerful and emotional moments in recent motorsport history occurred during pre-race ceremonies leading up to the Coca-Cola 600. Now, during the drivers' meeting, NASCAR left an empty seat in the room with Kyle Busch's name on it. Then, as pre-race ceremonies began, the NASCAR Cup Series garage, including drivers and their families, lined up on pit road behind the NASCAR CEO, Steve O'Donnell. And in a major surprise to everyone, the Busch family joined them on pit road in a remarkable showing of strength during their darkest hour. We saw Kyle's widow, Samantha, his two children, Braxton and Lennox, his parents, Tom and Gay, and alongside his Hall of Fame brother, Kurt Busch, who visited the painted number 8 on the infield grass and placed 8 flowers around his late brother's car number, as I mentioned earlier, just there at the bottom. They were not touched during the whole race. Incredible. Incredible. Now, the whole NASCAR garage stood behind the Busch family in support as Amazing Grace played on the bagpipes in the background. On the pace laps, the field did a missing man formation, leaving the front starting spot open to allow Busch to start on pole position one final time. We also saw the 3 winners from the weekend at Charlotte, Lane Riggs, Ross Chastain, and Daniel Suarez, do Busch signature Sherman's bow as a tribute to the NASCAR legend, photo taken by Alejandro Alvarez from NASCAR Digital Media. JT was listening to the spotters audio on those warm laps, and he came over and said that NASCAR officially give this pole position to Kyle Busch for one last time. He leads them to the green as well. So, Matt, starting with you, how did you feel watching that pre-race moment with the whole garage standing behind the Busch family and showing them, as O'Donnell perfectly stated, their NASCAR family forever?
Well, first of all, I haven't watched the race yet, but I've seen this because I needed to see this. I feel like everybody needed to see this. First of all, well done to Steve O'Donnell. He has taken a massive amount his way over the last 6 months, since NASCAR, of course, before Christmas. But what he said in the pit lane there on Sunday was fairly perfect. And as a father and a husband, this is the bit that got me. Watching those guys stand down there, Larson's kid coming up and putting his hand around Brexton was just like, wow, what a moment. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to plan anything really, did they? NASCAR, with all this happening so quick, but what they did was fairly spot on. Nothing too outrageous and over the top. Nice somber pipes get me. We already had taps at Indianapolis earlier on in the afternoon, which gets me every year, and I'm not even American. And then pipes and all that stuff on pit lane. And I watched this yesterday morning, so it's obviously 3 more days removed from when it actually happened. So, yeah, perfectly done by everybody down there in pit lane. Great to see everybody out from the garages, and there was media members in the back of shot there. Marty Smith I recognised, and others. And again, Marty, who did a great job on Sports Centre on Thursday night as well, like fairly soon after the moment I saw that going around on social media on Friday as well. So, yeah, just perfectly done by everybody. And to have Samantha and the kids out there with Kurt and Carl's mum and dad, it's just we talk about all the racing stuff and all the car stuff, but to me, family first. And it was amazing to see them all there, and they have got everybody's full support for now until forever. And if Brexton ever gets all the way to the Cup Series, Richard's already promised him the number 8, so that will bring all the emotion back up in 10 years or whenever it pertains that would happen. But yeah, what a great pre-race moment that was on Sunday.
Yeah, it was great. It was tough. I mean, it was really tough. I mean, you could see it in the faces just watching everybody. I mean, from Samantha to Brexton. I mean, just the amazing strength he showed comforting his mom. He's only 11. He's only 11 years old. Like, gosh, I remember when I was 11 years old, of course, life was all about, watching NASCAR races and playing with my go-kart and collecting die-casts and talking with my friends on Skype. Remember Skype? And, just like easy living and not like having to comfort your mom after your dad just passed away. I mean, just thinking about that is just amazing strength, amazing character that really showed itself. Like, I think of Owen Larson, of course, Kyle Larson's son came up and patted Brexton on the back and kind of like a, hey, I'm here for you. And, you know, there are a lot of, hey, I'm here for yous over the weekend with, you know, Chase Elliott wearing a Brexton Busch shirt and saying, hey, if he needs anything at all, the industry will be behind him. And other drivers wearing Brexton Busch t-shirts. Of course, he's 11, so we don't know if he's going to go all the way to NASCAR or the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Cup Series. He could definitely go in a bunch of different directions in his life, especially after something like this, you know. But if he gets there and if he decides to go that route, he has a lot of support behind him, which was exemplified, obviously, when O'Donnell said that you are part of the NASCAR family forever. And, you know, personally speaking, you know, after you lose someone like that, to hear those words is huge, because it kind of, I don't know, just like in an instance like that, after losing someone so big, you kind of feel like you're like a kind of a object warbling in space, kind of trying to find your place, trying to find your footing, trying to find what's real, because something so unreal has happened in your life. So for everybody to, I mean, just to see the drivers, you know, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, to come out onto pit road, and for Richard Childress to come out there and, you know, stand by the Busch family. I mean, Kurt laying the roses, just so many different things that shows, A, the family will not be alone, and B, Kyle's memory will live on, because those are the two things that I think the family really needs right now, is just to know that Kyle's memory will live on, which is without a shadow of a doubt will happen, and that they are supported, which, again, without a shadow of a doubt is going to happen.
Watching Brexton come up the ranks, if he does get this far, is going to be like watching Sebastian Weldon, isn't it? And even at the weekend, when he was in Freck, it was great example, unbelievable. And yeah, it's just, it's going to get like that, isn't it? You're going to see him win, and we'll probably be calling the races, and it's like, wow. And it's the same as I still get it with Mick as well. He was at the Brickyard this weekend, and I was like, it's weird. It's weird. And go on.
I was going to say, I'll just read Adam's comment quickly. The Amazon Prime pre-race show was amazing as well.
Absolutely.
I saw Carl and Corey LaJoy were fairly emotional at the desk on Prime. I was going to say, taking it slightly off topic, but not really. One of my apps, and not away from motorsport, indeed, one of my absolute heroes in all of sport, Peter Schmeichel, the Manchester United, former Manchester United goalkeeper. His son, Casper, has retired from football today. And as the eldest man in this room, when his son's retired, God, it makes me feel old. So if Sebastian Weldon and Brexton Busch can get a wiggle on and I can see them race at the top level, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like old fans who, you know, they saw Dale Earnhardt race, and then they saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. race and then retire, you know?
Oh, yeah. God. I'll tell you what also is weird. Juan Pablo Montoya, his son, Sebastian Montoya, in the F2 race right now. I'm finding it weird saying his name, and Barrichello's and who's in this year? Who's in this year that I keep saying? It is Barrichello, isn't it? In the F3, if I'm not mistaken now.
Yeah.
And
it's got two, one in F3 and one in WEC.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird. It's weird calling them. And it's like, to me, though, I know it's not a son, but it's a nephew. The one that's always going to get me is Bruno Senna, because Martin Brundle is right. The eyes are so the same. And I've got freaked out once this season, because when you take a look both at Gabriel Bortoletto and Kimi Antonelli, when you look at them with the visor, I just see Senna. And it's freaking me out in the commentary box. I can tell you, I've had a couple of moments this year where, especially when Kimi won in China, and I was looking at it, I was thinking, that's Senna. that's it, and it's weird. And we're going to all have the same thing when we look at Braxton in the eye, and when he's getting out of the car, it's like, oh wow, you're your father's son, aren't you? It's something that I'm looking forward to, but it's something that I know is going to sting a lot of people on that one. Joe says Steve, the new CEO, is leading everyone. Well done during this difficult time for the sport. Baptism of fire for him coming into the sport as a brand new CEO. Just unbelievable for Steve O'Donnell. And as we said, it is a difficult time for the NASCAR Cup Series garage, and we saw how the show will still go on no matter the circumstances. And in a press conference last Friday, Steve O'Donnell did say that Kyle Busch would be pretty... it's the only time you can hear me swear, but this is a direct quote. He said, Kyle Busch would be pretty pissed if we didn't move forward and continue racing. Now, for Busch's team, Richard Childress Racing, they sadly have experienced going through situations like this. Just 25 years ago, they went through the tragedy of losing Dale Earnhardt on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500. They decided to honour Earnhardt by not running the number 3 Chevrolet again and switching to the number 29 with Kevin Harvick replacing the 7-time champion behind the wheel. Now, in 2001 at Rockingham Speedway, people remember seeing the number 29 rolling off the hauler only a week after losing one of NASCAR's all-time greats. Now, the number 3 car returned to the Cup Series in 2014 with Richard Childress' grandson, Austin Dillon. Now, 25 years after losing Earnhardt, RCR finds itself in an uncomfortable yet sadly familiar position. RCR announced that they wouldn't use the number 8 Chevrolet that Busch drove for the foreseeable future, and that the team will now become the number 33 Chevrolet. Now, similar to Rockingham 2001, we saw footage of the renumbered number 33 car rolling off the hauler last Saturday morning at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, the Cup Series garage gathered in silence as Busch's old ride was the first car to exit the hauler in an emotional scene on a gloomy, grey and wet day. RCR promised that they would only use the number 8 again when Kyle's 11-year-old son Braxton Busch is ready to go racing for the team in Cup in the future. Now, regarding the number 33 Chevrolet, we saw Austin Hill drive for the car in the Coca-Cola 600, and he'll return to the seat this weekend at Nashville Superspeedway. Now, before Busch's sudden passing, he and his number 8 team were starting to make progress after switching to crew chief Andy Street. Now, a car that was struggling for speed suddenly looked competitive again after a good showing at Texas, Watkins Glen, and during the All-Star practice at Dover. Now, with Busch no longer there to continue leading RCR forward, it makes one wonder where RCR will go from here. Now, Austin Dillon penned an emotional letter to his fallen teammate on Instagram, saying his grandfather, Richard Childress, told him that Busch was the only driver he saw who drove like Earnhardt, and praised Busch for working very hard behind the scenes during tough times with the team in the last few years. Dillon also called Busch his favourite teammate and promised to be there for his wife and kids because they are RCR family for life. Photo taken here by Ethan Smith from NASCAR Digital Media. Matt, how does RCR move forward after losing its second star driver in the last 25 years? And can the team keep progressing on-track performances without Busch's leadership? And remember, I say 25 years, it still feels like yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, for all they've been through already, for it to happen again to RCR now, it wasn't an on-track incident this time, but to lose your lead guy that was just starting over the granted, we talked about the Kyle Busch situation on this show over the last few weeks with the crew chief changes and not running very well, and Kyle had been quite a formidable part of this show over the last few weeks up until this week, with the John Hunter Nemechek stuff at Texas, and it was starting to go in the right direction. But what happens now? As you say, what does happen? I don't know. They need something. Much like the Kevin Harvick win at Atlanta in 2001. What was that? 3 weeks on, 4 weeks on. Is Austin Dillon going to win in the month of June somewhere? Just out of nowhere on a fuel mileage or something, because they haven't got the speed to win outright, but they might win on a tyre call or a rain shortened or something. Goodness me, wouldn't that be emotional? What do they do about? I mean, they've got plenty of time, but the silly season is people are locking themselves away with other teams already. We've seen that over the last few weeks with the likes of Blaney and Reddick and whatnot, sort of continuing where they are. So what do they do about coming in next year? What does Richard do? Does RC say, I've had enough now, I'm done, I'm an aging man. Let's not call him an old man, an aging man. Can I just have a couple of years of retirement, please, and just watch from the sidelines, because I don't think my heart can take this anymore. That's possible, but it looks like Austin Hill's going to be in the car for the foreseeable. Maybe he'll run out the whole year. Saw a tweet just before we went on the air, actually, from Uncle Bob Pockras saying that Kyle Busch has been removed from the championship points for this year as a request of RCR. I would have liked to have seen him stay in there, because somewhere he would have been going, I'm still ahead of him in the points. I'm still ahead of him in the points. But he's now out of points contention in more ways than one. So that's a shame. But we'll have to see what they do. I mean, they bounced back from this tragedy stuff before at this team. Can they do it a second time? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But I think about someone like Richard Childress. Racing has just been a part of his life all his life. Going back to 1869, of course, 57 years ago when he competed in the first Talladega race, and that kickstarted the team and got everything going. Racing is just in Richard Childress's DNA, and I think ultimately right now is really tough. Just like after losing Dale Earnhardt was really tough, and when Childress debated if he should shut down the team, of course, that was a different set of circumstances, of course, with Dale Earnhardt passing away in an on-track incidents that, we all saw, Childress included, didn't look that bad on the surface, but was a whole lot worse inside. Tragic circumstances, obviously, Kyle Busch, tragic circumstances as well, but there is, I guess, a degree of separation in a way that I think, and obviously I don't want to guess how Richard Childress is feeling, but there is a degree of separation that it isn't quite on the same level as Dale's death. They're like, racing is still that escape for him. And I think that RCR will continue on. I certainly would not blame him if there was something that came up where he said, all right, I'm done. This has been a lot, but I feel like RCR is going to continue to be something that continues to be a part of Richard Childress's DNA and continues to be an escape room and something that keeps him going and keeps him young at his older age. And right now for the team, I think it's going to be a tough season. Not having a driver like Kyle Busch behind the wheel who can tell a team, hey, I need this, I need that, this is what we should do with our setups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a huge loss. And having someone like Austin Hill, who he is a good race car driver in his own right, but he's very inexperienced with the next gen car. And he's making his 19th start in the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend. He's going to do a good job taking care of the car, getting better in his own right, probably get a good feel for the car by the end of the season, or start clicking off some solid finishes if he does run every race from here on out. But it's going to be tough for RCR this season and just across the board. And I think ultimately, after any passing, it's about just getting back to yourself more than it is trying to do anything else.
It's what I said earlier on, isn't it? About it's not a death behind the wheel. And I think when that happens, nobody knows what to do. I think that's why it's hitting harder, because it sounds callous, but racers and race fans get it. If you die behind the wheel, it's easier to accept than this. It's harsh, but it's true. It's easier because you know how it's happened. You know why it's happened. You accept the risks. It hurts. But when it's like this, it's random. It doesn't, it's awful. It's worse because it's sudden and random. And that's the worst kind. Always is. Any hints on whether Jesse Love or Austin Hill will be the new permanent driver at RCR? I think they're going to... I don't know. I can't really tell who it will be at the moment. I know Austin's going to stay there for this weekend at Nashville. I would imagine once, it's all sort of decided out, they'll swap between and they'll see who's better for the rest of the season, and then we might have a permanent choice next year. But for the remaining year, I know it sounds harsh, but we're more now, 13 in out of the 36. It's not too late to bring somebody in, but it is getting too close to the cutoff point to chase, if you know what I mean. So it'd be unfair to bring someone in. So I can see sort of a 10 to you kind of situation. Matt, what do you think?
Well, and Jesse Love and Austin Hill, for instance, are running for O'Reilly points anyway, and have already selected that. So unless there's a force majeure, they wouldn't be able to take themselves into the Cup Series and run for a championship, even though they wouldn't get into the chase anyway because they're too far behind. So from what I am hearing, I don't believe that Jesse Love will be in that car next year. Whether he will be in it this year is to be seen. But I don't believe, from what I have heard, that he's going to be part of this team in 27. But they may give it. I think Jesse Love is going to take up the remaining Kyle Busch truck runs. I don't know how many truck races there was left on Kyle's schedule for the year. Certainly, he's in this weekend. Is Jesse, but I think they're better positioned to run Austin Hill for the rest of the year and see what happens. But we'll see what, as I said before, see what happens over the off season, I guess.
Okay, Jonathan, we'll get to you quickly, and then I'll fire through the last question and to get you out of here. Go on.
Yeah, I think Austin Hill probably going to be in the car. It's going to be interesting to see how he does, especially on the super speedways, and see if Jesse Love might get some starts for possible experience, but we'll have to see, because he was supposed to drive the Coca-Cola 600 in the number 33, and then RCR didn't put that entry in, so we'll have to see. I think Austin Hill's going to be the preferred driver, though, it looks like.
Okay, so in recent days, the NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell has discussed Kyle Busch being a future Hall of Famer. During last Friday's press conference, O'Donnell revealed that NASCAR is considering inducting Busch into the Hall of Fame in the class of 2027. Now, on last week's show, we discussed next year's Hall of Famers, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Larry Phillips. And following the death of Greg Biffle in December 2025, many wondered if NASCAR would induct him into the Hall of Fame, but that didn't happen. However, it feels like there is some serious momentum for NASCAR to make Kyle Busch I don't need a ballot Hall of Famer, as our friend Ben Schneider said from Motorsports Monday, would say multiple drivers have gone on the record to say we don't need to wait. Let's induct Busch next year. Photo taken by David Jensen from Getty Images. Jonathan, I'll start with you today. You've got a rush. Given Kyle Busch's massive impact on the sport, would you be in favour of him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame's class of 2027?
Absolutely. I would definitely be in favor of that. I think at the same time, too, you look at the honorary, the inductees for the class of 2027 with Kevin Harvick, Larry Phillips, with Jeff Burton. I definitely think they should get their own ceremony. They should get their own time, just with how they were selected and everything. But I think there should be something special for Kyle if they do decide to induct him in the class of 2027, akin to, what happened with Kobe Bryant or what happened with Roberto Clemente, like something that is special, some sort of memorial honorary thing. But we'll have to see. Like maybe it's something that just we'll have to wait until 2028 so that way it can be done properly. So that way I keep wanting to say honoraries, inductees are honored properly this year and they get their time, and then Kyle is able to get his time where he can be properly honored. So would be for it this year, but if it doesn't work out this year, maybe next year to give a proper induction to him and also the other inductees.
Yeah, if you don't do something and you put Kyle Busch on the ballot for a normal voting, he's obviously going to get in. But would you want Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle going in together in light of what's happened over the last 6 months? I know it's another 12 months away at this point from where we are now, but I think even they could just, we rock up to the Hall of Fame ceremony at the beginning of next year, and they go, here he is, Kyle Busch. He gets straight in, no need to talk about it, and he just goes straight in, and Kurt inducts him with Joe Gibbs or something like that, and it's all done and dusted. I don't think he needs to go through the whole situation of this. I don't think anyone wants there to be a discussion on this, much like a few people probably didn't want the discussion on Greg Biffle. But if they put Kyle on the list, do we want our most two recently deceased people that are on the list? That's a horrible sentence for me to say.
No, I'm with you on that.
Go in together with someone else from the Pioneer ballot who also isn't here, because you want them to be having their moment, someone having their moment like Kevin Harvick's going to get, and Jeff Burton at the next ceremony. That's my 2 pence on that one.
My thoughts on this is, Ben says totally agree, Josh. Even with Greg Biffle and his family in December, you understand how the circumstances of a tragic accident were unsurvivable, even if off track. KB just left you shell shocked. Yeah, I get it. It's like it's an accident. You understand it. You know how it goes, and with this, it's random. And I'm trying to remember. Kobe Bryant would probably be one that I would say that's probably a time when you think, what, how? And I'm thinking as well of things. Colin McRae as another has been just random, and it's awful. It's just ridiculous to happen. And yes, put him in tomorrow and have a ceremony ASAP. We don't have to wait until January, as far as I'm concerned. Personally, I think there should be an honorary. Both of them go in. We don't talk about a ballot, just in.
Well,
if no buts, in.
Yeah, I think that ship on Biffle has perhaps sailed already, which is why he's obviously been on the list. I don't know how many votes he got, how close he was to getting at the top. But now you're going to put, let's say he came fourth, and then you put Kyle in front, then it doesn't leave much wiggle room for anyone else next year. I know Ben's a massive fan of the Hall of Fame, and of course we had him on the show last week. I agree. We don't need to. David Allen went in together in 2019. Well, yeah, indeed.
Is it disrespectful to say? Is it disrespectful? Sorry, to say that arguably Kyle Busch should go in automatically, whereas Greg Biffle, you could keep him on the ballot. Do you know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
NASCAR's winningest driver.
Exactly. As tragic as the whole Greg Biffle circumstances was, he didn't have that many more wins than Jeff Burton did at the Cup level. Do you know? And Kyle's the most winning if he's got 2 championships. And
there should be he should be. It shouldn't even be a question. It's just the way it's gone. Let's hope Steve O'Donnell and the team who are on the panel decide something very quickly on that.
A conversation that they're having this week. Let's put it that way. Up in
This will probably happen
in the fall.
Yeah, definitely as well.
February.
Yeah, and we'll probably have it announced before Daytona or something like that, or in January, as you say, when the ceremony is. Jonathan's had to leave us on the show, but we have actually reached the end of our tributes. We have got a few more items to go through tonight, including trying to lift your spirits with some hots or nots, which I think, Matt, you're going to agree with. It's just one knot and then a lot of hots to try and cheer people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a...
Shortly.
Yeah.
Shall we bring
yeah.
matters back to things that happened at the weekend on track rather than off it?
Yes, absolutely. So, Matt, take it away, please, with the latest from our Grid EPI update.
Thank you, Josh. We are now over 1/3 of the way through the Grid Endurance Performance Index for 2026, and there was racing across the big bank holiday weekend here in the UK and in the States as well. And we'll do this in reverse order. We'll start on Monday because British GT were at Alton Park on Monday for 2 sprint races. We don't have any photos to show you because, quite frankly, we've had enough stuff flash up on the screen and we've all run out of time to get this stuff squared away. But Rob Collard and Hugo Cook took out the first race on Monday, and Morgan Tilbrook and IMSA man Ben Barnicoat in the Optima McLaren took out race 2. The DTM was at Zandvoort on the weekend, where they had their second round, 2 races, of course, and a win on Saturday, a first win in the DTM for Matteo Cairoli. He picked up the win on the Saturday in the Ferrari there, the pink number 14. So congratulations to Matteo. Kelvin van der Linde, last year's champion, getting home to win the Sunday race around the not last year's champion. What am I talking about? Sorry, he was the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup champion. Kelvin van der Linde winning the Sunday race by the Dunes. They were supported, as they are for 90% of the rounds, by the ADAC GT Masters. They were in action as well over the weekend. Leighton Forey and Tim Zimmerman winning the Saturday afternoon race. Another BMW victory there, as you can see, against the backdrop of the caravans. And Finn Zulaf and Felix Hirschseiger, who won one of the races at the Red Bull Ring a few weeks back, getting their second victory of the season on Sunday in the Liqui Moly Lamborghini. So that's what happened in the races this weekend. Here is what has happened to the points. If you were with us last week, if that graphic looks very familiar, because Joe, all he had to do was change the week number. Absolutely no changes whatsoever in our top 10 from last week. So Felipe Nasr continues to be point leader, but maybe only until the weekend, because IMSA is back in action this weekend, and it is part of Pick a Winner, which we'll do shortly. And it is a Saturday race for IMSA on the streets of Detroit, supporting the IndyCar race for the Detroit Grand Prix. That is on the weekend, and it is also the second round of the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup at the weekend as well. So plenty of racing action. We're into June as of the weekend, almost. Monday is the 1st, isn't it, of June? And you know what June brings? Le Mans. That is not too far away. So that's how the top 50 stand coming out of the weekend in week 9 of the Grid Endurance Performance Index. Felipe Nasr continues to be the leader. Will he survive in P1? We'll find out on Saturday afternoon when IMSA hits the streets of Detroit. We'll bring you all the updates from those races at the weekend in the Grid EPI slot on the show next week, as we always do. No more news to bring you because there was only one big story really in the world of motorsport this week. So we're going to bring Josh back on screen, and we are going to finish off the show by lifting the mood slightly with our hots and nots from the weekend. First hot, can I go with the first hot, please? And that being Mr. Kobe Lambert, who has put this show together.
Yes, I think a round of applause. Absolutely. He has done amazing with it all.
The week. So well done, Kobe. Much appreciated, and done a sterling job. Indianapolis. Should we
Definitely
start there?
hot.
The greatest race in the world, the greatest race of this year for sure.
Oh, what a classic. What a corker. It was brilliant. I definitely, I think, would you say it's one of the greatest Indy 500s we've ever seen? I really enjoyed it. We were doing mental math. It was fantastic. You were on the call. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to work out who was on the right fuel strategy between the groups. Was it going to be the Pelot group? Was it going to be the Rosenquist group? And then there was a few others sprinkled in the middle. But then it didn't really matter in the end anyway, because of the way the cautions fell. But a record number of lead changes and the closest finish of all time suggests it probably has to be one of the greatest 500s. And it was all doom and gloom. There was only 33 cars. We weren't going to get it in because of the weather. They did all of that and got the closest finish in history.
I'd say one thing though, that first red flag was pointless. Didn't need that. The second red flag, I can see. The rain one. Because what that meant was I had to do double duty. So do you remember that scene of Batman with Adam West where he's talking on the phone, pretending to be Batman, then pretending to be Bruce Wayne? Have you seen it? From the 60s one. Yeah, that was me. Headset for Indianapolis, lip mic for Formula One. Formula One hadn't started. Yeah. Yeah, it was that. It was like, yeah, right. Okay, Megan, you go there. I'll go there. Let's work out how much time we got left. What's going on? It was nuts. Megan literally did so much mental math. She had a headache at the end of the night because she was working out. Okay, so we're doing 40 seconds per lap. So times that divided by. We've got about 15 minutes left. Got 20 minutes left. She calculated that we would end the race at 23:57, which is of course 3 minutes. Sorry, was it 20:57, which was 3 minutes for the start of the formation lap. We got so close to that, and then the red flag came out, and we were like, oh, great, we have to do it now. And then F1 decided to have a paddy with its lights, because of Lindblad, and then so we had to do double duty. But it worked, but stressful.
Yeah. Congratulations to Felix Rosenquist. I said second greatest finish ever, nothing. Well, yes.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yes. I guess so.
But Little Al no longer the closest.
More Weldon mentions on the show tonight. I said live at the point of the red flag again, why can't we just get to the end of these things without doing this? Which Matthew Owens retorted straight away. This is entertainment. We've got 500,000 people here. They've all come to see a finish. Well, I get that. And the person that was leading at the moment of the last red flag for the Kyle Collette crash ended up winning the race.
Which was right.
But they didn't red flag for Newgarden. They didn't red flag for Legg and Hunter Ray. But because we were near the end, that sits not well with me that we have to have a red flag to get to the finish.
No, I'm with you. And it was that precedent that was set a couple of years ago, wasn't it? And it just rubs me the wrong way.
Out the last 4 or something now where we've had a red flag or sort of in that period at the end from memory. But yeah, that hasn't sat with me.
To be honest with you, I think everybody thought it was Rosenquist's all day long. He was so fast in qualifying, and he was so fast on Friday. It was his. It was always his. From the moment that green flag fell, he was flying through the field. He did the strategies. He got it right, and then it was just work. So yeah, I'm really happy that Rosenquist won, especially after 2 weeks ago his baby as well. What's her name?
I could see it, but now I forgot.
I had it. It begins with an S, wasn't it? Stella, that's it. The baby Stella. The baby Borg Wreath. Yeah, really love that. And she was asleep, and Felix's wife put on a photo saying, "Girl, you don't know what you just missed," because she's 2 weeks old sleeping. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. We've watched him, haven't we, Matt, come up through the junior ranks and Formula E as well. And he is insane.
The Euro Series before that. Went to Formula E. And was Dario Franchitti calling Formula E races, got him a shot in IndyCar.
Which is the wildest thing ever.
Yeah. It was Chip, give this guy a run. Worked out for him.
Fro row is always the best one to win.
You have to feel for David Malukas. He was in absolute bits. Again, second, twice, 2 years in a row, and this by nothing.
Yeah, he's getting there, isn't he? Though he will get it, and I feel for Pato as well. Actually,
Pato.
Yeah,
both look at them and go, they will get one at some point.
I'd say, what happened to Pelot? Nowhere in that last stage of the race.
got caught on the wrong side of the strategy side.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Him and I was going to say him, McLaughlin and whatnot, but Scotty came back to finish third with his own tongue at the finish line, Lightning McQueen style jump to get third place, which no one ever saw because we were looking at the front two.
We were looking at Rosa Quest. Didn't like Newgarden's crash. That was a bit not nice, was it?
And
to me, I think
a boot Monday at the ceremony.
Turn 4 is always one of the worst to crash at, though. Even though they're all exactly the same, every driver and every fan was like, "Oh no, they're all different. They all feel different when you go around them." 4, if you crash there, it seems to be heavier on you as well because it's sort of max speed before the straight. So not good. I just really enjoyed it. I haven't enjoyed a 500 like that in a while. And big up, actually, Fox made a big improvement this year. Really impressed. And the booth as well was great. I think Will Buxton perfectly was able to bring the Formula One level of commentary to the IndyCar at the right moment. Absolutely, I think he nailed that at the end.
Suggests that the Indy 500 level should go to Formula One, but anyway, as I just watched the Canadian Grand Prix before the show tonight, and there was some moments in that from Crofty. Should we talk about the Montreal Grand Prix? You mentioned the 2 non-starts.
Let me give you another thing. All 5 lights ahead of the drivers. It's lights out now.
And they've pulled away.
And I've never seen a start. I don't think it's a strange. The procedure is for an aborted start, the 5 lights will stay on and the amber lights will flash and then the 2 greens will come on to signal the extra formation lap. What happened was we couldn't see those because Formula One had put their advertising board in front of the lights, so we could only see the 5, which they're not going to do again, by the way. They've been told off for that. But the lights stayed on, but the procedure, Lindblad waved his arm too late. So the procedure was complete. Basically, race control, Rebecca Lee, who is the FIA starter, I'll use this code. She presses the button, releases the finger, the signal then goes on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the end of the 5th light, the sequence then becomes manual again, and she controls when she releases the button. So she clicks it again, now goes the lights. It's a manual procedure. At any point during the sequence, you can press the amber button to abort the start, and that freezes the system. But the sequence of lights was already complete, which means that it was too late to put the amber lights on. So we had to hold, and that's why the start sort of failed. Didn't help the fact that the revs were coming up so much. All the cars lost the revs. Critically, that's another thing. They all lost the revs in the turbo long before the extra formation lap boards were coming out. So the lights went out, the race officially started, and no one went anywhere. And it was only then they could stop, restart the computer and say, no, extra formation lap. So the race started and no one went anywhere. I've never seen that before, ever. I used to have nightmares about that.
Did enjoy it. It was a good race, though, I thought, up until halfway. And then once George fell out with his issue, it was a bit more strung out. But
it was hard to follow that one. I think, as you say, after George fell out, it was an example of how bad F1 is right now. Like it was 1980s level bad. Like everyone was getting laps, falling out. Yeah.
Gets 30 seconds worth of penalties. He still came 5th.
Yeah, it didn't move the place. And I was like, what? Also, they served that wrong. You know the stop-go penalty? They served it wrong. Because I sent this out on Twitter. No one ever replied. Because in the F2 race, we saw a driver get a stop-go penalty, and we all assumed, it's a 10-second. The driver came in, stopped in the pit lane, and went off again. Literally, came in, stopped, go. Because there was no, in the graphic or in the document saying, you've got a 10-second stop-go, it just said stop-go. They took it literally as in, you come in, stop, and go. The same penalty then comes up for Isaac Hadjar, and Red Bull waiting for 10 seconds. And I go, you're wrong. You've read the rule wrong. Because there's no seconds. So it's
10 rather than just stop and go.
Yeah. So it was just stop and go. So they should have just come in, stop and gone instantly, like come to a full stop and go, like Degrassi did in London all those years ago when he came in under the safety car, stopped and went off again. That's what he should have done. Yeah, that's exactly what he should have done. Yeah, and didn't do it. Red Bull, if that was in a race winning situation, they would have cost it through their own mistake. And I hope they don't make that again. That was something I picked up on that weekend. But Red Bull in a race winning situation this season is quite laughable at the moment.
Well, Max wasn't that far away, was he? In the end, fell off towards the end when Lewis passed him, and they had a good dice. But
that was a good chin wag between them two.
I'm pretty certain they would have turned Kimi down towards the end because what's the point?
Yeah,
and Monaco next.
I'm actually looking forward to it because this was
one of the reasons why we've changed everything in Formula 1. It was to make Monaco better again, and from what I've seen, it's going to be no different to what it has been, apart from that we've got no 2 stops.
Yeah, so Monaco, quite weirdly, might be the only normal race of the year. So, yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad this weekend, did all of the yo-yo stuff. I thought it was okay.
I'm still 50-50. Yeah, I think coming out from Indy direct, you had a couple of days before you watched it. Coming directly from Indy to that, it was a bit of a shift.
I can imagine.
I think definitely though Monaco is going to be a cracker. Although coming up in MotoGP this weekend at Mugello, God knows who's going to win that. It's pointless doing pick a winner for that because there's no one left to pick a winner from. It's going to be someone brand new.
I've just remembered we even skipped pick a winner tonight. So
there's no point doing it really, because no one's going to win it because Alex is in hospital still and recovering. Mark is back, but too badly banged up, and he's only back because Michele Piro has to ride Alex's back, and they've run out of Ducatis, and they have to have someone there at the home race. Jorge Martin's still badly banged up, so he's not going to win. Marco Bezzecchi's injured somehow, and he doesn't know how he's going to ride here. Zarco's out with injury with a broken leg. Bagnaia might go well, but is still healing himself because he's torn something, and Mia's fallen off. Literally, this week that was 7 riders. God knows what's going to happen this weekend. Honestly, Luca Marini could probably win, and that would not be the stupidest shout. I don't know.
I agree, and that might get him a deal for next year. Mark is going to be assessed, isn't he, before they say yes or no? And as I put on Twitter X yesterday, what's the point? The championship's gone. Just get yourself, much like the last couple of times, just get yourself better again.
I agree.
And get ready for next year when the bikes and the tyres are all different. It doesn't matter.
I agree. He shouldn't be pushing
contracts and whatnot, but you know.
Yeah. Well, if he stays at Ducati, I agree. He shouldn't be pushing. But to say the championship's gone, if we keep getting injuries like this, Martin's injured, Bezzecchi's injured somehow. I don't even know how that's happened, and all the other riders racking them up. It might still be like.
He fell off at Barcelona, didn't he, at one point and hurt himself. I can't remember now if that was in the sprint race.
I think it was the sprint, wasn't it? Bezzecchi
turn
went off.
2.
Yeah, turn 2, where a lot went down.
Well, indeed so.
Honestly, MotoGP this weekend is going to be massacre. It's not going to be madness in Mugello. It's going to be the massacre of Mugello. It's just going to be a nightmare. You've got injured riders racing because they haven't got replacements. Also,
and World
Superbikes, yeah. And Petrux, that's another thing. Petrux was also lined up to come back to fill in for Alex, but can't because he got injured in Moist. So,
yeah.
I just... Bike racing right now is... You are the winner. End of. Just massive bucket dip.
In Moto 3. We're almost at 2 hours, so let's get out of here. But I'll just throw a passing knot in. Ben says, as great as Greg was, and I believe he's a Hall of Famer, we now know that he's at best a 4th ballot Hall of Famer. KB, yes, 100% agree.
That's the point I was making earlier. Yeah.
Passing knot on the way out. Give the championship to Ash Sutton in touring cars.
Yeah, it's done.
Like a passing knot.
yeah, agreed. I called him the comeback king when I interviewed him after race 1 at Donington Park. I stand by that mantra. he is the comeback king.
Yeah,
Start him in the back at every race. That's it. Just start him in the back at every single race and see what happens. It's just weird, isn't it? Weird week. Matt, thank you very much as well. Can I bring Kobe on for a split second, if possible? Because I feel so sorry for this guy who's introduced us and has produced us for the last 2 hours and hasn't said a word. Hi, Kobe. I hope you're okay, my friend, as well. One thing I will ask you, though, coming into this weekend is, what are you thinking about Detroit?
Oh, are you talking about the IndyCar IMSA?
The IndyCar IMSA, yeah. Do you reckon the IndyCar is going to be good there?
I mean, well, given the short history of this new Detroit street circuit, it's probably going to be chaos, right? Because we haven't really come a year to this new Detroit circuit without any sort of chaos. But I have to admit, last year's race was actually pretty good. I don't exactly remember all the details that happened, but I remember the racing was pretty good, and Louis Foster had a massive shunt. Yeah, so that's what I remember from Detroit. But I'm hopeful that we're going to see a really great IMSA street race on the Saturday, and then the IndyCar race on the Sunday. I did see some rumblings on social media while I was producing the show about IndyCar team owners and drivers and personnel frustrated by the fact that they just had an entire month of May worth of activity, and then we got to go to Detroit and keep on racing. It seemed like a lot of those people in the paddock, would prefer to have, like a week off, a chance to recharge the batteries and then go again. But we know in recent history with IndyCar, it's always been Indianapolis 500. Then you go to Detroit for many years and went to Belle Isle, and then obviously returned to the downtown city streets of Detroit. So it really seems like there's quite a bit of fatigue inside the IndyCar paddock. But at the same time, IndyCar wants to capitalize off the high of the Indianapolis 500. But at the same time, you don't have any other super speedways to replicate the type of on-track product we saw at Indianapolis. So just like a once-a-year thing.
Personally, I would think going from Indianapolis, I think we should go somewhere like Road America straight after to try and capitalize on that, from one great track to another great track, and the racing we see there. Detroit on Belle Isle, that always gave us a great race. Here, it's very stop-start. Yeah, it doesn't work. It's like, here's a great super speedway. Here's a rubbish little track that used to be on the site of an old F1 track in a part of the town where we can't really overtake at. Enjoy.
And we've got double-sided pit lane, and no one can overtake, and there's not much vantage points for spectators. But look,
unless you want to stand on the top. That's it. Yeah, stand on top of the GM building. I don't know. Weird. Kobe, thank you very much for producing tonight, my friend, and writing an amazing tribute script. That is 1 in a million, my friend. And I'm sorry you haven't had much time to talk tonight. I'll make it up to you next weekend, though. I promise I'll let you ramble on with all the news that I know is going to break as well coming into it. You can talk about Gucci next week, coming in with Formula One. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't touched on that. That's all coming next week when regular programming comes back. Okay, taking a look at our... You should read this bit, actually. Taking a look at our upcoming schedule. Grid Live Wrap-Up is recapping the NASCAR, IndyCar, MotoGP, IMSA, and WCR, and that's going to be on Sunday. Monday, our Grid Rising is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. That is recapping O'Reilly and Trucks at Nashville. Indy Next at Detroit, plus other motorsport action. Please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like what you saw tonight, you can send us a super chat to show your appreciation. And now we've passed 1,800 subscribers. You can help us reach our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air. And you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon or a YouTube channel membership. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, Nico, and our newest member, Gloria, who all invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these great group of people that keeps us on the air all year long. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link to all of this is in the video description below. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, invest as much as you want, and consider buying your favorite on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. Now, before we go off on the air tonight, on behalf of everybody at Grid Network, we extend our deepest condolences to the Busch family during this difficult time, and may the memory of Kyle Busch be a blessing. We'll have a special moment of silence to end our program tonight for Kobe Lambeth, Matt White, from Grid Insurance Performance Index and Jonathan Field from NASCAR Roundtable Sports and the Racing Experts, I'm Joshua Birch for JP Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.